You are now listening to Femme podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme. Thank you for tuning in, listeners. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about kind of stuff from the director DP side of things, organizing production when you're in production. We have a great guest to go along with the second half of this segment later on. You'll get to meet him. And well, let's dive right in, I guess, right? So when you are starting to film anything, obviously you've got to get your crew, you've got to get your equipment, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's more to it than that, location, all that jazz. But before you start, that's what you start with.
Yeah, so, you write your script, you get a storyboard going together.
But once you have all that, I mean, before you actually jump into production, you've got to start with, your crew and your equipment.
Right. But on the lines of like getting to the point where you meet a DP, like you want to have, your script written out, and then you of course do all the location stuff. That's what you mean. Like have that all figured out.
Right.
But to I feel like you really can start to feel your vision come to life when you get, I mean, at least from my point of view, like the feedback comes from the DP, like whether they're like, yeah, that works, and like this I don't know about. Like you need the camera all the way up there. So it's like very important, I think, to have at least like that right off the bat put together before reaching out to a DP. Because the more information you have, the better off you'll be.
Yeah. I mean, I know for us, like, we didn't know anything about cameras and all that kind of stuff when we started, and we've definitely learned a lot, but like going into it with the mind of, okay, well, this is what I want it to look like, and working with a DP that could be like, okay, well, if you want to get that, you've got to get these lenses. If you want to get that look, you've got to do this, and this is going to cost this much. And like that was a huge help, on our first project, was to have a DP that knew what he was talking about, because we didn't, at that time.
Exactly. And that's the important thing of finding a good DP is he should know, like, obviously the equipment that's out there and what you need to create the shots, as well as maybe like helping you figure out the best way to save money. Like I feel like the DPs that we love to work with, like, know how to not make you spend, the same amount that they would necessarily on a $1 million budget crew set. So something I really like is when they're like, yeah, you really just need, this kind of gimbal that's going to help stabilize your shots, not to get too technical, and like, but just these set key pieces. And I think, it's amazing, especially if you're doing independent filming, what few pieces that are crucial, but will help you get the shots done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just, to get into a little bit more on the like equipment side things, like even if you're trying to build a skill on filmmaking, and you're going to even go shoot with what's available out now, which are these lovely things called iPhones.
Yes.
And I just got an iPhone X, and I've been using like the X iPhones to capture film, and it's like get a really good gimbal steady cam, like a DJI, and you can create amazing footage just there.
Yeah. Now
you can invest in other things, like make sure you have the right lighting and sound. So we invested in getting like the Zoom for sound, as well the Zoom 6, because you can get up to 4 6 inputs, and then as well as the boom, which has been super helpful to get our audio. So like things like that, like get a good sound, get labs, get some lighting things, and it's amazing like what you can start to do. But it's also, I think it's amazing what you can also rent out there for also really cheap, than having to throw hundreds of dollars off the bat if you're starting out and looking to get certain pieces together. So I think, what were the places?
ShareGrid is what we've had the most success with. I mean, there's definitely other sites out there, and I'm sure they're also great, but I know that's what we've continued to use, which has also been really cool, because we've actually met other filmmakers that way too. It's obviously these people with this equipment are filmmakers, and sometimes it's just, hey, here's the exchange, the money, like, let's go. Other times you actually can build a relationship with someone, and so that's just a cool little added bonus to it.
That's how we became friends with Alexandra Boylan.
Yes, if you guys remember her from first season, that's exactly how we met her, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But it's such a, yeah, like renting equipment is a great option because equipment can be really expensive, and sometimes you need a certain piece of equipment to get the certain kind of look or shot you want for a specific project, and you might never use that again. You know what I mean? So that
Exactly.
especially is a great instance when like the black arm that we used in our
Oh my
Western.
gosh.
But
Which is like this giant picture gorilla arm that will hang off of a truck.
mhm.
Like we're never gonna use that again necessarily like soon. We
Yeah,
won't
no
like,
time soon
no
for
time
sure.
soon. But it's like get the share grade.
Mhm.
Found it, easy, done.
Another great way too, though, is, especially once you start building your network of reliable filmmakers that is finding people that have their own equipment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to invest in a
Especially
camera,
DPs,
yeah,
since we're
exactly,
this is
for sure.
yeah.
If you don't want to invest in a camera, but you know enough about cameras to know, hey, I want to use, a red to shoot this or whatever, find a DP that has one.
Yeah, because
Especially living in LA, you're guaranteed to find
yeah.
it.
Absolutely. Chances are if they own that camera, they probably know how to work it.
hmm
And you can get a better package deal too, as far as their day rate goes. I mean, not
hmm
all the time, but a lot of the ones we built relationship will put, if since we're using them and their camera, they'll
hmm
kind of do a package deal, which helps so much.
Yeah.
And also because they know like that's their camera, they feel comfortable and they know what lenses are going to work, and they may
hmm
even have the lenses already, and it's like again saves you time and money trying to figure it all out. But again, I think a good DP will have the knowledge of all those things and
hmm
how they should have some stuff
Yeah.
and be able to come to you with solutions, which
hmm
is like the best
Yeah.
when you're like struggling trying to figure out how the shot works, and that's where they're there to support you in those ways. But
Yeah.
you also, as a director, a filmmaker, it's your job to come to them prepared with your vision, a clear,
hmm
concise way. And I think our we'll definitely get more into that later on.
Yeah. But I mean, touching on that a little bit more, like people knowing their specific craft, on set is so important that you are not just hiring people that or that you can afford, but making sure they're people that know what they're doing for that job they're doing. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know that we personally have, and I've been on sets where the sound person, for instance, has never run sound before. You know what I mean? And
Oh my
it's
God.
like sometimes it can work out. It's a
Yeah.
relatively simple thing, but if you are working with someone who has done that and something comes up, it gets really windy or whatever, like they're gonna know how to fix that. And we think of that for a DP for camera because that seems like the main thing, the
Yeah.
main piece of equipment, but even when it comes to lighting, have a gaffer that knows where the lighting should be placed and how,
Yeah.
I mean, all that stuff coming together. And something to think about too is with independent filmmaking, you find a lot of times that you are, the writer and the director and the producer. And if that's what you want to do, great. If that's how it has to fall on, great. But if you don't feel like you know what you're doing, directing, for instance, but you have this great script and you want to see it, made, find someone that does, and it's all about just knowing
Yeah.
what you're good at and making sure that you are bringing on people that know what they're doing.
And vocalizing your strengths and your weaknesses up
Yeah.
front is probably, yeah, the best way to do it, because you can, we've been up front, like when, especially starting out with the DPs, is like, we have no idea what this means, but we're going to learn like the lingo the best we can. But this is not our strength, so
Yeah.
help us. And they should be willing to do that, and then they know where they're not going to just throw terminology at you that you have no idea what that means or
Yeah.
what that is. And I like also, especially too, when if you're green in this, and they're production, if you're working with a production company or a DP to produce a film, and they're telling you need to get this and this, and I, especially for me starting out, I'm like, I have no idea what any of these tools
Yeah.
are. I like was kind of getting a little paranoid just because I don't want to buy and rent stuff I did not need.
Right.
So just so then I educated myself, because I was like, I need to know what every single piece of equipment that is on this list, what it does, how it functions. I don't need to know how to function it, but I need to know
Right.
what is its purpose. So when you get a breakdown list from a DP or a production company, and especially if you're green in this, I highly suggest do that. Do the
Yeah.
work that you're supposed to do and and research every piece of equipment so you don't get oversold. So you can be like, I don't need that extra little whatever thing that's there on the side, because it all adds up. And as independent filmmakers, we're trying to make the best shot look the best it can, but there's a million other things money needs to go to.
Well, I mean, you have to be careful not to be taken advantage of.
That's important,
but also be, if say a DP has this camera on mind with this lens he wants to use with this filter and this and this and this, and maybe he's not trying to take advantage of you. Maybe he's not trying to oversell it, but this is his ideal package. You have to, again, do that research and talk to him. Hey, I don't think we quite need all of this. Let's do it like this. When you know what the equipment does and you know how to get the look you want, at least to some degree, you can talk to him about that and you can talk him down. Hey, I don't think we can afford this package, but what if we just get rid of this lens and do it this way?
A good DP will be straightforward with you and be like, you know what? Yeah, it's going to achieve the look like this. You're right. But it's not going to be quite like maybe how you envision, because of course they're the experts, right? But a good DP will tell you, like, you know what? Yeah, that is doable. We can do that. Just know you might miss out on this and this, but if that's not important, like, that's okay with you. Yeah, it will save costs. So cool. Like, let's do that. A good DP will work with you like that, to help you achieve again the look,
right,
for if you are tight on budget. And I think that's been super important. I think to us is just making sure we, like, as we grow, we know doing the research on our end, knowing what all these moving parts are, and also, like, if you need to also research on how to talk to a DP, like, as far as what kind of materials you should present to them, and
knowing their language too, for anyone in any different department of film, having some idea of how to speak to them in their language, what I mean?
Exactly.
It's super helpful, and it's
okay if you don't right away. Like, I mean, we
takes time to
Lizzie
learn.
say, she called an apple box something else, and it takes time. I think eventually, again, if you're just open about where you're at and honest about that and are okay to grow, like, you're open to growing and not being completely ignorant to how, professionals who are respected and, should be respected and taken seriously in their craft, then, I think it makes a good team as long as everyone's on the same page there,
And something I just thought about too that we should bring up, if maybe you're new to LA or whatever market you're in, or you're just new to filmmaking, maybe you've always been an actor or, whatever. If you don't really have a network yet of people to work with on your crew, how do you find them?
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of websites. I mean, even like LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff. Like, there's so many places you can find people, but sometimes it's hard to know, like, what they might have a reel, but if you're thinking, okay, so I'm going to look at this person as a director and here's their reel. Well, how much of what they've done was good writing or good cinematography versus their actual direction? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's hard to tell. So I think it's really important when you are trying to find people. Obviously, you look at their resume. Have they done stuff of the caliber that you need them to know? Or, what is their day rate? All that kind of stuff. But to look at their style, like, have they made the sort of movie you want to make? Like, that came into play with our Western. Do they shoot in the sort of look that you want? Because even though the director might not be the cinematographer, they have a say in what that look is, so it all comes together. But yeah,
and they're experienced in that look too. You'll I'm like, oh, they tend to do like horror films, for instance. And they kind of get that vibe. They know exactly like the colors that really work with it. And they can even give you advice on, like, hey, I think this could enhance, that's their job, this enhance the look by making the light like this and whatnot. So do thorough research.
Yeah, make sure you
sure
mesh with someone and you're not just impressed by their resume.
Yeah, exactly. Because they they might surprise them later on.
Hmm.
Yeah. But it's been super important. And what else, Tessa? Like, what else do we got? So
DP's director. I
crews,
mean, with the crew,
PAs.
like, I think,
Oh,
oh, go ahead.
I will say,
Hmm.
okay, lesson, another lesson learned from Femregard Productions. Um, like, really talk to every single person you're hiring. Like, that seems like a no-brainer, but like, we're working on one thing and you're like, they're like, oh, we trusted our DP to bring on certain crew members that they've worked with, which is like we were kind of doing a stressful shoot and we needed to make sure he felt comfortable with
Hmm.
his team. So we went ahead and okayed it, like whoever, because their rate was reasonable. We trust that they've worked on it. But I, my like, my word of advice is still go out, like either meet them or have a phone
Hmm.
call or something to make sure they're not only cool with the DP, like that's great and all, but then they like if you're the director on set and you're not jiving with that person
Hmm.
or they're breaking things and not taking ownership of it and stuff and just being a real piece of work. um all that could be avoided if you had a phone call and you're like, you know what, I know you really liked this person, but they don't seem like there's someone I'm going to be able to work with on
Hmm.
set. So I mean, just because the DP gets along with them, you need to make sure you do too, which
Yeah.
seems like a no-brainer. But when you're like, okay, like I trust the DP to, bring on
Hmm.
certain crew members, it's like, lesson learned. I want to, as a director, producer,
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I have a phone call at least with like the next people because like,
I mean, I think it goes back to that whole like some people do just want to take advantage of you, and sometimes people don't have that intention, but you get screwed over anyway because you didn't take that extra step of doing your own research. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
because recommendations in Hollywood, and I've talked like about this several times with friends, it's so funny because it's like I have so many actor friends. I really am out here for acting. That's what I started with and everything. I've been in classes with so many people. I've met so many people that are
Mm-hmm.
actors, but I've probably seen a third of my actor friends actually act, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I hear they're doing these projects or whatever, and I love them as a person. So I like recommend them. And then I'm like, I can't recommend this person because I've never actually seen them act,
Yeah.
and that's just something to think about. Like, even if you're hiring friends for your projects, like, make sure you have actually seen them act and they're not just that actor friend of yours. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, oh yeah, they're great. Their
Yeah.
personality is great. And then lights, camera, action. It's like,
Yeah, but it's
oh.
the same thing. Like you can't always just blindly trust a recommendation, even if it's coming from someone you trust.
Right. Because it's easy to get wrapped in that, like, oh, okay, cool, cool. Yeah, 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 totally. Yeah, Bob, Sue are gonna be on it and doing it. It's easy.
Can't always trust Bob and Sue.
I mean, Tessa, I try. It's still the space.
If you haven't noticed,
Yet.
LA's made us slightly jaded. We're still nice people that we swear.
Not at all. No, it's just knowing, going under, looking over past the Hollywood
Yeah.
glitter.
Just being smart,
just
really.
being smart. That's
Yeah.
why we're here. That's why we're doing the podcast. We're
Yeah.
just sharing our journey as we go, and we still don't know anything, but we're
But we're learning.
but we're learning, and we know lots. And we're so grateful to you guys for tuning in again.
Mhm.
And we're excited for you guys to hear our listener who has a lot of great advice.
Our guest.
Our
Not-
guest.
yeah.
Yes, sorry. Oh my God.
We
Our-
don't have a caller yet. We're not
We're
that
not
far.
taking calls right now.
But we are taking comments if you guys want to like comment, DM.
Apple
That's just
Podcasts,
reminder.
share, tweet. Yeah.
But yeah, let's end with some inspiration.
Yeah.
So it's my turn, I guess. Oh yes, I want to talk about the Twilight Zone.
Oh.
So Twilight Zone, like the old ones, are on Netflix right now, and I've been watching them. I love them, but Jordan Peele is doing a reboot of them very soon, which I know we've talked about reboots in season 1. I'm actually super excited for this one. But one thing I really love about it is like there have been so many episodes of this show, like years of seasons,
Yeah.
right? And it's always something new.
I feel like the Twilight Zone is in the Twilight Zone. Does
Kind
that make
of.
sense?
Yeah, I know, right?
Like,
And I mean, I'm sure there's been tons of writers on the show over the years, but like every story is something completely new and different. And
Ooh.
sure, you know, you've seen movies that maybe had this little plot in it or twist or whatever, but like to come up with a fresh idea of something like weird and Twilight Zone-y, you know,
Yeah.
for every episode for that long,
Huh.
like that's super inspirational to me.
yeah. No, I'm really curious to see what he's going to do with it.
I am too.
When-
I don't know if he's bringing back old plots or new one. I don't
new
know.
one, new spin-off maybe. But yeah, Jordan Peele's also looking, I think you sent me a memo the other day, like writers too. So
Yeah, for his
any
production
writers
company.
listening to this podcast, like, yeah, check him out because he's
Yeah,
looking-
Monkey Paw Productions is the name of it.
Oh,
Mhm.
perfect. Yeah. Well, that's really cool, Tessa. I didn't know
Well, thank you.
that. I'm going to have to catch some Twilight episodes.
Do some
Yeah,
binging on
Amazon.
Netflix.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Femme Regard podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in next time for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals over tea.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you leave us a great comment, we might give you a shout out on the show. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.